Kyle lived on the outskirts of human settlement on the remote planet Virelia, a place few humans called home. The sky was often tinged with green and gold, and the wind carried strange scents from the alien flora that grew in the valleys below. Kyle preferred solitude. He was different from most humans. While others sought comfort in numbers, he sought understanding in the unknown. He had spent years studying relics of lost civilizations, mysterious energy crystals, and alien machines scattered across the rocky plains. His small dwelling was filled with gadgets, screens, and devices he had built from salvaged materials. Though his life seemed quiet, Kyle thrived in this isolation, enjoying the challenge of solving problems no one else dared to consider. One calm afternoon, as Kyle adjusted a delicate energy collector on the cliff near his home, he sensed a disturbance in the air. The temperature dropped and the wind swirled unnaturally, carrying a deep vibration that felt alive. Kyle paused, frowning. He had learned to notice unusual patterns in nature. This was unlike anything he had studied before. Then he saw them. A herd of dragons descended from the skies, their wings cutting through the air with power and grace. But these were no ordinary dragons. They were larger than any creature Kale had ever imagined, with scales that shimmered in colors that shifted with every movement. Their eyes glowed faintly, reflecting intelligence and emotion, and each dragon radiated an aura that made the ground tremble slightly under Kyle's feet. Kyle's first instinct was awe, followed quickly by caution. Dragons were rarely seen in this sector of space. Intelligent dragons, ones that could communicate and think, were considered legends by most humans. And yet here they were, massive and real, staring at him with piercing gazes. One of the largest dragons stepped forward. Its scales glimmered like liquid silver, and its wings spread wide, casting a shadow over Kyle. Then, to his astonishment, it spoke, not with words, but with thoughts that resonated in his mind. "Humyn, we seek help." Kyle staggered backward, clutching the edge of his workbench for support. The telepathic voice was calm but urgent, filled with a weight of centuries. He had read about telepathic communication in alien species, but this was his first experience, and it was overwhelming. I can hear you," Kyle whispered, testing his voice. Why do you need a human?" The dragon lowered its head, and Kale felt the answer wash over him like a tide. Images of a vast, dying landscape appeared in his mind. Rivers turned to black sludge, forests collapsing into dust, and mountains crumbling into the ground. The dragon's home was dying, and no technology or magic they possessed could stop it. "Our home. It fades," the dragon continued. "A force consumes the energy of the land. Our kind cannot survive without intervention. We have nowhere else to turn." Kyle swallowed hard. The magnitude of the problem struck him like a hammer. Yet, despite the fear rising in his chest, a spark of curiosity ignited within him. Humans were small, fragile creatures compared to dragons, but Kyle had never been one to turn away from a challenge. I will help you," he said, his voice steady despite the storm of thoughts he felt from the dragons. "But I need to understand the problem first. Show me. Everything." The dragon's eyes narrowed thoughtfully, then widened in relief. A soft ripple of energy pulsed through the herd as the other dragons circled above, shimmering like stars against the golden sky. Slowly, the images of their home flowed into Kale's mind, mountains that bled strange lights, oceans swirling with invisible currents of energy, and skies streaked with dark shadows that sapped life from everything below. "You see," the dragon's voice echoed, "we are linked to our land. Its death weakens us. If it dies, we die, and none of the elders, not even the oldest among us, can stop it." Kyle nodded, feeling the weight of their desperation. He could feel the dragon's life force, intertwined with the energy of the planet, faltering like a flickering candle. The responsibility they offered him was enormous. He was just one human, and yet somehow they had chosen him. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "There are other species in the galaxy. Why would you come to a human?" The dragon hesitated. The mental words were slower this time, as if considering the answer carefully. "We sensed potential, something in your mind, a spark, unlike other species. You think in ways we cannot. You see patterns we cannot. We hope." Kyle felt a strange mix of pride and fear. A spark? That was all? And yet, if this spark could save an entire species, it was a responsibility he could not refuse. "Very well," he said finally. "I will help. But I warn you, my methods may be unconventional. You must trust me completely." The herd's response was immediate and unanimous. A wave of telepathic energy washed over Kale, filling him with warmth and relief. Even the most skeptical dragons seemed to accept his words. Kyle spent the next hours observing the dragons closely. He noticed details that would have escaped any ordinary human: the way their scales reacted to energy currents, subtle changes in their breathing when the land's energy faltered, and the way they could sense even the smallest disturbances from miles away. Each dragon was unique, yet together they formed a network of intelligence that surpassed anything Kale had encountered. As night fell, Kale sat by a small fire, surrounded by dragons resting on the cliffs. Their massive forms were both intimidating and beautiful, their eyes glowing softly under the star-filled sky. He studied the images in his mind again, piecing together the possible causes of the energy decay. It was unlike anything humans had faced, and Kale realized that brute force or conventional methods would fail. He would need to think differently. Kale began sketching ideas on his portable holo tablet, combining human science with observations of the dragon's abilities. He considered energy harmonics, resonance patterns, and how the dragon's life force might interact with the planet itself. Hours passed, and the dragons watched silently, occasionally offering guidance through images and feelings rather than words. By dawn, Kale had a plan forming, not a simple plan, but one that required both human ingenuity and dragon cooperation. It was risky, possibly dangerous, but it was the only way to even attempt saving their home. The largest dragon lowered its massive head toward Kale. "We trust you, Humyn. Do not fail us." Kale met its gaze, feeling the weight of their expectation. He nodded. "I will do my best, but you must understand, this will not be easy. It may change everything." The dragon's eyes softened. "We have no choice. If our home falls, so do we. Begin when you are ready." Kyle felt the enormity of the task before him, yet for the first time in his life he felt truly alive. He was not just a human anymore. He was the hope of a species, a bridge between two worlds. And though the road ahead was dangerous, fraught with uncertainty, he knew one thing: he would face it with every ounce of his mind, body, and spirit. As the first light of Virelia's twin suns touched the horizon, Kyle looked at the dragons and whispered quietly, more to himself than anyone else, "Let's see what we can do together." And so, the human and the dragons prepared to face a challenge unlike any they had known, a challenge that would test their courage, intelligence, and trust in ways neither species could imagine. The morning light of Virelia shone over Kale's small settlement, reflecting off the dragon's shimmering scales. The herd moved with cautious energy, their wings stretching in the warm sun as they followed Kale to the edge of the cliffs. He had spent the night studying the strange energy patterns that were killing their homeland. And now, with renewed determination, he was ready to act. Kyle carried a small device he had built from salvaged alien technology and human engineering. It was not a weapon. It was a sensor, designed to read the planet's energy currents and detect the decay's source. As he activated it, the device emitted soft pulses of light, synchronizing with the subtle vibrations in the ground. The dragons circled above, their eyes reflecting both curiosity and a faint worry. "Humyn, what is this?" asked one dragon, its voice echoing in Kyle's mind. "This will help me understand the pattern," Kyle explained. "We cannot fix the problem if we do not know its source. I need your help too. You can sense the currents better than any device." The dragons lowered themselves closer to the sensors, their claws brushing the rocky ground. Slowly, Kyle and the dragons mapped the energy flows of the planet. Streams of faint light traced across the landscape in his mind, showing him where the decay was strongest. The patterns were irregular, chaotic, and terrifying. It was unlike any natural disaster Kyle had studied. This energy was alive, intelligent, and spreading. "It resists," Kale murmured. "It's not just dying. It's aware. Something is consuming the energy." The dragon's collective mind stirred in alarm. "A force like none we have faced. Can you stop it?" Kale shook his head slowly. "I don't know. Not with brute force. But I have an idea. Something you will need to trust completely. If it works, it could save your home without destroying anything. But it is unusual." The dragons exchanged cautious thoughts among themselves. Some were skeptical, unconvinced that a human could save a problem that had lasted centuries. Others, the older and wiser ones, sensed Kale's determination and ingenuity. Slowly, they nodded in agreement. "We trust you, Humyn," said the silver-scaled leader. "Show us your plan." Kyle drew diagrams in the air with a portable holographic projector. Lines of energy and waves of light spun around him, illustrating the concept. "Your life force is linked to this planet, and the decay is disrupting that connection," he explained. "If we can harmonize your energy with the planet's currents, we can stabilize the decay. But we must do it carefully. Too much force, and we could harm ourselves or the land." The dragons listened intently, sensing the truth in Kale's words. He continued, explaining that they would need to form a network, linking their minds and energy flows through him. Kale would act as the focal point, using human technology and his understanding of patterns to guide the resonance. "It will require perfect coordination," Kale warned. "Every movement, every thought, every breath counts. You cannot falter, and I must focus completely on the patterns, adjusting them in real time." The dragons hesitated, feeling the magnitude of the task. Many had never relied on a human before, let alone trusted one with the fate of their species. But Kale's confidence, calm mind, and careful planning slowly eased their fears. "We will follow you," said the silver dragon. "If you lead us, we will do as you say." The next few days were spent in preparation. Kale designed special amplifiers that would enhance the dragon's natural energy flows without causing harm. He taught them how to focus their thoughts and maintain synchronization. Some dragons struggled, their impatience or fear causing brief lapses in concentration. Kyle remained patient, guiding them with encouragement rather than force. "Think of the land as part of you," he instructed. "Feel its pulse, but do not let fear control you. Your strength is not in fighting the decay, it is in joining with it." Slowly, the dragons began to understand. They practiced, flying in precise formations, channeling their energy through Kale's devices. The atmosphere around their practice ground shimmered with faint colors as their combined energy interacted with the planet's currents. Kyle watched carefully, adjusting the devices, noting the smallest shifts, guiding their efforts. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the mountains, Kyle and the dragons encountered their first major obstacle. A sudden surge of decay energy erupted from a fissure in the planet's surface, sending tremors through the ground and knocking several dragons off balance. The anomaly was stronger than anything they had anticipated, and Kale realized the danger they faced. "Hold steady," he called in their minds. "Focus. Do not let it frighten you. We can redirect this energy if we act together." The dragons roared in unison, their combined life force forming a protective barrier around the fissure. Kale adjusted the resonance devices, channeling the anomaly's energy into a controlled flow. Slowly the surge weakened and the ground stilled. "It is adaptable," Kale said, his mind racing. "This force reacts to us. We must be flexible. We cannot force it. We must communicate with it through energy." The dragons were amazed. They had never thought of approaching a problem in this way. In their history, strength and fire had solved most threats. But Kale's human ingenuity showed them a new path, one that relied on cleverness, observation, and trust, rather than sheer power. Over the next several days, Kale refined his plan. He realized that the planet itself was not a passive victim. It was alive, responding to the dragon's energy and to his guidance. By carefully adjusting the resonance, they could create a balance, stabilizing the decay. But the plan required every dragon to participate fully, and Kale's concentration had to be absolute. A single mistake could be catastrophic. "We are ready," said the silver dragon one morning after a long night of practice. "Lead us, Humyn. Show the land your way." Kyle nodded. "Remember, this is not about fighting. It is about harmony. Listen to the land, and it will guide you. Trust me, and trust yourselves." As the dragons took to the sky, Kale activated the amplifiers. Streams of colored light flowed from the devices, mingling with the dragon's natural energy. He focused his mind, analyzing the complex patterns of the planet's energy currents. The decay was strong, twisting, and unpredictable, but Kale noticed subtle irregularities, small gaps in the anomaly's influence that could be used to stabilize it. "We are ready," he called in their minds. "Now, synchronize." The dragons spread out in precise formations, their wings beating in rhythm with Kale's guidance. Energy pulsed between them and the devices, flowing into the planet like a gentle river. Kale adjusted the resonance in real time, guiding the energy, closing gaps, and harmonizing the fluctuations. For a moment, everything seemed to waver. The decay resisted, sending tremors and illusions to disrupt their focus. Kyle felt the force probing his mind, testing his control, challenging his understanding. He took a deep breath, clearing fear and doubt, and pushed forward with calm determination. Slowly, the planet's energy began to stabilize. The fissures stopped spreading, rivers regained a faint shimmer, and the winds calmed. The dragons roared in triumph, but Kale warned them to remain focused. This was only the beginning. They had made progress, but the anomaly was still active, still intelligent, and still capable of disruption. "This works," Kale said, his mind racing with possibilities. "But we must continue. Every moment counts. We are learning how it thinks. And once we understand it fully, we can save your home completely." The dragons circled Kale in gratitude and newfound respect. They had never thought of a human as capable of such strategy, such insight. They realized that strength alone was not enough. Sometimes it was human ingenuity, creativity, and courage that made the difference. As night fell over the cliffs, Kale and the dragons rested. The plan was working, but the danger was far from over. Kale knew they had to push further, to deepen the resonance, and to face the anomaly directly. It would require trust, precision, and the bravery of every dragon and the human who had become their unlikely leader. Kale looked up at the stars, thinking of the journey ahead. He understood that this was bigger than any human had faced before. Yet, for the first time in his life, he felt a sense of purpose beyond survival. beyond study. He was not alone. He had allies unlike any other species, and together they might just accomplish the impossible. "Tomorrow," he whispered to himself, "we go further, and together we will save your world." The next morning, Kale and the dragons prepared to move deeper into the heart of the decay. The once vibrant valleys of Viralia now stretched before them like a shadowed maze, with twisted rocks and rivers of dark energy flowing through the land. Kale had studied the patterns from afar, but seeing the decay up close was more frightening than anything he had imagined. The anomaly was alive, intelligent, and it reacted to their presence. "Humyn, this place is worse than we thought," said one dragon, its voice calm but tinged with fear. "Even we feel its strength. How will you control it?" Kyle adjusted the resonance devices strapped across his shoulders. "Control isn't the right word. We harmonize. We listen. The anomaly responds to force. It fears it. But it cannot ignore intelligence, curiosity, and understanding. That is what we bring." The dragons listened carefully. Many had relied on strength alone their entire lives, but Kale's human perspective challenged their instincts. He had shown them that brains could rival brawn, that cleverness and courage could shape fate where power alone failed. Kale led the herd to a canyon where the decay's energy surged violently. The ground trembled beneath their feet, sending small rocks tumbling down the slopes. Rivers of shimmering black liquid flowed like living veins through the valley, emitting waves of corrosive energy that threatened to destabilize the dragon's power. "Here," Kyle said, pointing to a plateau above the canyon. "We set up our amplifiers there. From this height we can guide the energy through the resonance network, but you must follow my instructions exactly. One mistake could—" He stopped, choosing his words carefully. "Could make it stronger." The dragons nodded. They were ready. They had trained, practiced, and learned to trust Kale. But the fear was real. No being wanted to confront an intelligent force that could bend reality itself. The herd formed a formation around the plateau. Kale activated the amplifiers, sending streams of light pulsing across the canyon. The dragons extended their wings, channeling their life force into the devices. A network of energy began to form, spreading outward like a web, connecting each dragon and Kale into a single living circuit. At first, the anomaly resisted. Dark waves of energy rose from the canyon floor, whipping around the dragons and threatening to disrupt the resonance. Kale felt the anomaly probing his mind, testing him with visions of failure. He saw images of dragons collapsing, of rivers boiling, of mountains crumbling. Doubt whispered in his mind, but he pushed it aside. "Focus," he commanded himself. "Observe the pattern. React. Adapt." Kyle guided the dragons through small adjustments in their energy flows, teaching them to anticipate the anomaly's shifts. Their movements became synchronized, almost like a dance. The air shimmered as the resonance network pushed back against the chaotic energy, slowly stabilizing pockets of the decay. "It fights us," one dragon thought, panic in its mind. "It does not want our help." "No," Kyle replied firmly in the collective mind. "It doesn't understand us yet, but it is learning. Every reaction it shows gives us information. Watch carefully. Learn from it." As the resonance network strengthened, Kale noticed something unusual. The anomaly was not purely destructive. It reacted differently to the dragons than it did to him. It seemed curious about his mind, probing for understanding rather than aggression. Kale realized that the anomaly's intelligence was testing him personally, trying to gauge human thinking. "It is analyzing me," he admitted to the dragons. "But we can use that. If it studies me, it will reveal its patterns. Then we can predict its next moves." The dragons roared in agreement, their fear turning to determination. They trusted Kale's judgment and relied on his insight. Together, Humyn and dragons pushed the resonance further, guiding the anomaly's energy into controlled channels. The dark rivers of the canyon slowed, and the tremors lessened. But the anomaly was not defeated. It reacted with a sudden surge, creating illusions that distorted the dragon's senses. One dragon saw its own reflection in the canyon walls, multiplied into dozens of dragons ready to attack. Another felt the heat of fire from nothingness, forcing it to struggle against an imagined threat. "Ignore it," Kale commanded in their minds. "It cannot hurt you if you do not respond. Focus on the real energy flows." It took all of Kale's concentration to maintain the resonance while comforting the dragons through the illusions. He sent waves of calm through the network, helping them center their thoughts. Slowly, the anomalies in perception faded. The dragons regained clarity, their focus sharp and their energy steady. "You see," Kyle said softly, "it tests us because it doesn't understand. But we can teach it, not fight it." Hours passed, and the network grew stronger. Kyle adjusted the amplifiers, fine-tuning the resonance to match the subtle fluctuations of the planet's energy. The anomaly, now recognizing the humans' and dragons' persistence, paused in its resistance. For the first time, it seemed curious. Kale realized that the anomaly was not an enemy, but a being seeking understanding. Its destructive influence was a response to misunderstanding, not malice. If he could communicate through energy rather than words, they might reach a truce. "We can do this," Kyle whispered to himself. "We just need one more step." He instructed the dragons to release a controlled burst of their combined energy into the anomaly's core currents. The effect was immediate. The chaos in the canyon softened, and the anomaly pulsed gently, responding to the network. Kale felt it probing his mind again, but this time it was different. Instead of fear or challenge, there was a sense of curiosity, an acknowledgement of intelligence. "It is, learning," Kale said. "It understands that we are not enemies." The dragon's eyes widened. They had never imagined that the human they doubted could guide them through such danger. Kyle's quick thinking and insight had turned a violent threat into a lesson in cooperation. "We are ready to try the next phase," Kyle said, adjusting the resonance. "We can stabilize this region completely if we stay united. No distractions, no fear. One mistake and we start over. But I believe we will succeed." The dragons circled in agreement, their trust in Kale complete. The illusions had been overcome, the energy flows analyzed, and the first true connection with the anomaly had been established. Kale smiled faintly, sensing their awe and respect. It was not victory yet, but the first real challenge had been faced and survived. As the twin suns set, casting a golden glow over the valley, Kale and the dragons rested for the night. They had faced the anomaly's first direct test and lived. Kale's mind, however, remained alert, already planning the next steps. The anomaly's intelligence was growing, and they had only scratched the surface of what it could do. "Tomorrow," Kale thought as he looked at the sleeping dragons, "we go deeper. We test its understanding further, and we teach it that humans and dragons can work together to protect life itself." The dragons, though tired, felt renewed hope. They had witnessed a human, small, fragile, and clever, outthink a force they could not have imagined controlling. Kale had proven that courage and intelligence could succeed where power alone might fail. And as night settled over Virelia, the anomaly pulsed quietly beneath the canyon floor, a new awareness stirring within it. It had met Kyle and the dragons and felt something unfamiliar: curiosity, respect, and perhaps the possibility of coexistence. Kale's heart was steady. The challenge had been greater than any he had faced alone, but together with the dragons, they had taken the first step toward saving their world. The road ahead would be dangerous, filled with tests, trials, and unexpected twists. But Kyle knew one truth. Humans, though considered small and weak, could shape the fate of worlds in ways no one expected, and this was only the beginning. The following morning, Kale and the dragons rose before the twin suns of Virelia. The canyon below, once chaotic and dark, now shimmered faintly with stabilized energy patterns. The anomaly still pulsed beneath the surface, intelligent and aware, but it seemed calmer, observing rather than attacking. Kale knew this was the moment to take the next, most critical step, the full resonance. Kyle stood on the edge of a cliff, his devices humming softly. The amplifiers were ready, calibrated to focus the dragon's life force through him and into the planet's energy currents. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him, heavier than any physical load he had ever carried. The dragons, sensing his focus, spread around him in formation, their eyes bright with trust and determination. "Today we do not fight," Kale told them. "We harmonize. We become one with the land and the anomaly. Every thought, every motion, every beat of your wings counts. You must trust me completely. I will guide you." The dragons nodded, feeling the truth in Kale's words. Their entire lives had taught them that strength solved problems, but Kale had shown them another way. Intelligence, strategy, and empathy could accomplish what raw power could not. Kale activated the resonance devices, sending pulses of soft light that intertwined with the dragon's natural energy. Streams of colored energy radiated outward, reaching deep into the canyon and threading into the anomaly itself. The ground trembled slightly, not from fear or chaos, but from the immense energy flowing through it, harmonizing for the first time in centuries. "Focus on the pattern," Kale instructed. "The anomaly will respond to precision, not force. Feel it, listen to it, and guide it with your life force." The dragons extended their wings fully, channeling energy from their entire bodies. Their scales reflected the light of the amplifiers, shimmering like stars in motion. Kale monitored the currents closely, adjusting the devices to maintain balance. It was delicate work. The slightest misalignment could destabilize everything. At first, the anomaly resisted. Waves of dark energy surged upward, attempting to break the harmony. Kyle felt it probing his mind again, testing his resolve, challenging his intelligence. He closed his eyes briefly, centering himself, and then acted. Every adjustment he made was subtle yet precise, guiding the dragon's energy to complement the anomaly's flow rather than oppose it. "Do not fight it," Kyle sent through the resonance network. "Guide it, harmonize it. We are not enemies." The dragons roared in agreement, their energy forming a coherent web that intertwined with Kale's focus. Slowly, the dark waves diminished. The anomaly pulsed more rhythmically, responding to the coordinated energy. Kyle sensed it observing, understanding, and learning. "It reacts to us," Kyle said quietly. "It is not mindless destruction. It is intelligent, and it can learn from us." The dragons marveled at this revelation. They had faced countless threats in their history, but never one that could reason, adapt, and respond like this. Kale's insight had turned a deadly force into a potential ally. For hours, Kale and the dragons worked, weaving their energy into the planet's currents. The resonance deepened, spreading farther into the canyon and across the valleys. Trees began to shimmer faintly, rivers flowed with renewed vigor, and the air itself seemed to hum with life. But the anomaly was not yet fully cooperative. It reacted unpredictably at times, creating illusions to test the dragon's focus. One dragon saw its kin multiplied across the canyon floor, while another felt flames licking its wings despite no fire being present. "Ignore it," Kale commanded. "It cannot harm you if you do not respond. Concentrate only on the resonance." The dragons calmed themselves, centering their energy and thoughts. They learned to distinguish between illusion and reality, a skill Kyle had taught them through patience and guidance. Slowly, the anomaly's tests became less aggressive. It was curious now, probing for understanding rather than trying to destroy. Kale realized the anomaly had begun to trust them, or at least acknowledge that they were not a threat. This was the breakthrough he needed. "We are close," Kale whispered. "We must push the resonance deeper. All of you, every dragon, every thought, every heartbeat, focused together, we can stabilize the planet completely." The dragons formed a tighter formation, their wings beating in rhythm with Kale's subtle signals. The amplifiers pulsed brighter, sending energy streams directly into the anomaly. Kyle adjusted the patterns continuously, sensing the anomaly's responses and guiding them into harmony. For a moment, the energy surged violently. The canyon shook, and the sky darkened as the anomaly tested the network one last time. Kyle's mind raced, balancing calculations, intuition, and observation simultaneously. He could feel the anomaly probing deeper, analyzing his strategies, but he remained calm. "We are one," he sent through the network. "Together we can stabilize this. Trust me, and trust yourselves." The dragons roared in agreement, their combined energy reaching a peak. Streams of light flowed through the amplifiers, into the anomaly, and across the planet. Slowly, the dark rivers of energy softened, the fissures ceased spreading, and the canyon itself seemed to breathe again. The anomaly pulsed once, a deep resonance that Kyle interpreted as acknowledgement. It had understood their intention. Humans and dragons were not enemies, but partners. They had communicated without words, using energy and focus, guiding the anomaly into balance rather than attempting to destroy it. Kale felt exhaustion creeping in, but he maintained control. One final adjustment, one final push, and the resonance network reached full stability. The anomaly's chaotic energy transformed into a rhythmic pulse, spreading through the planet and weaving life back into the decaying regions. It listens," Kale said quietly. "It understands harmony. It is no longer a threat." The dragons circled the canyon, their eyes wide with awe. They had never imagined that a human, a species they had often underestimated, could lead them through such a complex and dangerous challenge. Kale had not only guided them, he had taught them a new way of thinking. Intelligence, creativity, and trust could accomplish what power alone could not. "Humyn," said the silver-scaled leader, its voice filled with reverence, "you have saved more than our home. You have shown us a new path. We owe you more than words can express." Kyle smiled faintly. "This was never about me. It was about understanding. We worked together, dragons, human, and anomaly. Each of us played our part." The dragons rested on the cliffs, their energy slowly returning to normal. Kale allowed himself a moment to breathe, feeling the satisfaction of accomplishment, but also the awareness that the anomaly was still alive and learning. Their work was not yet complete. It was a new beginning, not an end. Kale thought about the lessons he had learned. The anomaly had been intelligent, capable of adapting, and sensitive to intention. Strength and force alone would have failed. Only human ingenuity, combined with the dragon's natural abilities, had made the difference. "This is only the beginning," Kale whispered to himself. "But together, we can face anything." As the twin suns set over the canyon, Kale looked at the dragons. Their trust in him was complete, their respect undeniable. He had guided them through the most dangerous challenge they had ever faced, and in doing so had proven that humans, though small and underestimated, could shape the fate of entire worlds. The anomaly pulsed quietly beneath the canyon, no longer destructive but aware, curious, and open to cooperation. Kyle understood that their partnership with it would shape the future of Virelia in ways no species had imagined. Tomorrow, he thought, we teach it even more. We show it that life can thrive, not be consumed, and the dragons, they will see the true potential of a human mind. As night fell over Virelia, the valley shimmered faintly with energy, a symbol of hope, cooperation, and intelligence overcoming destruction. Kyle and the dragons had faced the greatest challenge so far, and emerged not only alive, but wiser, stronger, and united. The resonance had succeeded, the planet's energy had stabilized, and for the first time in centuries, the dragons could imagine a future free from the fear of annihilation. Kale looked at the stars, thinking of the journey ahead. He knew the final stage would require even greater courage, creativity, and trust, but he was ready. The human mind, small but clever, had already changed the fate of a species, and this was only the beginning of what they could achieve together. The dawn of Virelia's twin suns painted the canyon in soft golden light. The once dying land now pulsed with renewed energy. Rivers flowed clear, trees stretched tall, and the mountains glimmered faintly with life restored. Kyle stood on the cliff's edge, surveying the transformation. Beside him, the dragons stretched their wings, their scales reflecting the light like jewels. "We have done it," Kale whispered, awe in his voice. "The planet, it lives again." The silver-scaled leader of the dragons lowered its massive head, observing Kale with reverence. "Humyn, you have achieved what none of us thought possible. Not even the oldest among our kind could have done this. You have changed everything." Kale shook his head, smiling. "We did it together. You and I, the dragons and the anomaly. We all played a part. I was just the guide." The dragon's collective minds pulsed around him, a wave of gratitude and respect that made him feel both small and extraordinary at the same time. For centuries, humans had been underestimated, seen as fragile, limited, and incapable of shaping the galaxy. But now Kale knew that intelligence, courage, and creativity could tip the balance of worlds. The anomaly pulsed beneath the surface, its energy calm but alive, responding subtly to Kale's presence. Unlike before, it no longer emitted chaotic waves or destructive force. It seemed to watch, to understand, and perhaps even to learn. Kale realized that their work was not simply a victory, it was the start of a partnership. "We owe you more than we can express," the silver dragon continued. "Your mind, your courage, it has saved our home. But there is more. Will you stay with us? Will you guide our kind and share in what the future may bring?" Kale considered the offer carefully. To remain with the dragons would mean access to knowledge and abilities far beyond human understanding. He would see worlds, learn secrets of the galaxy, and perhaps even shape the destiny of entire civilizations. Yet a part of him longed for his own kind, his own world, and the life he had built on Virelia. I cannot stay permanently," Kyle said finally, "but I will leave behind a bond. I will teach you, guide you, and create ways for us to communicate across the stars. We will not be separated by species or distance, and together we can protect more than just this planet." The dragons paused, sensing his decision. Then slowly, they nodded in understanding. The silver dragon's eyes glimmered with approval. "Then so be it. You have given us hope, Humyn, and hope is the greatest gift any being can give." Kale turned his attention to the anomaly. He reached out with his mind, carefully extending the resonance that had already stabilized the planet. The anomaly pulsed, responding in a way that felt almost friendly. Kale understood that it was learning trust, understanding cooperation, and recognizing that not all species were threats. "You will live in balance now," Kyle whispered to the anomaly. "Work with us. Learn with us. Protect this planet as we protect it together. A ripple of energy pulsed through the canyon, spreading outward in a visible shimmer. It was as if the anomaly itself had agreed, embracing the new relationship. The planet, the dragons, and the anomaly were now in harmony, a living network of life, energy, and intelligence, guided in part by a human mind. Over the next several days, Kale worked with the dragons to create permanent networks of energy and communication. They learned to extend the resonance to the forests, rivers, and mountains beyond the canyon. Wherever the decay had once threatened life, the new harmony now thrived. The anomaly, once feared, became a guardian, a living energy presence that ensured balance and growth. Kyle taught the dragons strategies, ideas, and methods of observation and analysis. He showed them how to work with intelligence rather than against it, how to combine strength with creativity, and how to trust in the unexpected insights of a human mind. The dragons were quick learners, and soon they could predict minor shifts in the anomaly's energy, respond in harmony, and maintain stability even without Kale's constant guidance. "You have taught us much," said the silver dragon one evening, wings spread as the twin suns dipped below the horizon. "Not just about energy and harmony, but about thinking differently, about seeing beyond instinct and strength." Kale nodded. "And you have taught me too. I have learned patience, understanding, and the power of trust. We have changed each other, and together, we have changed this world." For the first time, Kale felt a deep sense of belonging, not just to humans, not just to dragons, but to a network of life, intelligence, and possibility that stretched beyond imagination. He had started alone, a small human on a distant planet, but now he was part of something far greater. The dragons offered him a permanent place among them, a chance to share their knowledge and live as one of their kind. Kale considered it, but he knew his journey was still his own. "I will not stay permanently," he said again gently, "but I will always return, and I will leave behind a bridge between humans and dragons that cannot be broken." The silver dragon nodded, understanding the choice. "Then go, human. Go and share this knowledge with your kind. Let them see what one mind, guided by courage and creativity, can do for the galaxy." Kale prepared to leave, knowing that humans would never see dragons as mere myths again. The resonance networks would continue to thrive, the anomaly would guard the land, and the dragons would carry the lessons of trust, ingenuity, and partnership far into the future. As Kale activated his ship and lifted off, the dragons roared in unison, a sound of gratitude, triumph, and hope that echoed across the planet. The canyon shimmered in response, the anomaly pulsing gently, as if saying farewell. Kyle smiled, feeling the resonance network beneath him, a connection that spanned species and life itself. Humans are small, Kyle thought, gazing at the stars beyond Vierelia. But our minds, our courage, can shape worlds. He charted a course for the human settlements on the planet, carrying with him not only knowledge, but the proof that cooperation, intelligence, and trust could succeed where strength alone could fail. Kale understood that the universe was vast, full of threats and wonders, but also full of opportunity. A single human could make a difference that could ripple across galaxies. As Vierelia grew quieter beneath him, Kyle felt the dragon's presence in his mind, a constant hum of life and energy. The anomaly pulsed gently, a reminder of the strange, intelligent force they had faced and transformed. Kale smiled. Together they had turned danger into harmony, destruction into life, fear into hope. He looked ahead to the stars, imagining the worlds he had yet to see, the challenges yet to face, and the lives yet to touch. And he knew one truth more clearly than ever. Humans, though often underestimated, could rise to greatness through courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to trust and cooperate with those unlike themselves. The story of Kale and the dragons would become legend, not just among dragons, but eventually among humans too, a tale of bravery, intelligence, and the power of working together across species. It was a reminder that even the smallest minds could achieve the unimaginable when they dared to think differently and act boldly. Vierelia thrived. The dragons soared through clear skies. The anomaly guarded the planet, now a guardian rather than a threat. And Kale, the human who had become their guide, left the planet not as a conqueror or a hero, but as a teacher, a friend, and a bridge between worlds. As the twin suns set one last time for Kale's view, he whispered to himself, "This is only the beginning. The universe is vast, but we are ready." With that, Kale's ship rose into the sky, carrying the promise of a new era, a future where humans and dragons, intelligence and courage, understanding and trust, could shape the destiny of worlds together.